Hey, it's Glenys here from Horse Chats, of course, which is a podcast where we interview experts with equine industry knowledge, and also from International Horse College, which is a government-accredited training organisation. So if you're interested in a course, please contact us, talk to our friendly staff, and get you interested in a course. Now, today I'm going to be teaching you about riding and teaching through the 5 phases of the fence. Think about when you're first teaching a beginner rider and about how they can barely breathe, the adrenaline's there and they're thinking about everything, and they have to take a breath, and you have to actually say to them, breathe, in, out. And then when they move on and they start to do some rising trot, and you've got to actually say up, down, and keep them with the rhythm, because they can't think of a lot more. But then as your riders go on and as you go on as a rider, you can start to think of a lot more. And say you're at the stage where you're jumping and you're coming into a fence, but you'd like to improve your jumping more, or you'd like to teach improvement more. Think about the 5 phases of the jump. So the 5 phases of the jump are the approach to the jump, the takeoff, the flight path of the jump, the landing, and the departure. And of course the departure then goes on to be the approach of the next fence if you're jumping multiple fences. So think about teaching through there. Now you might initially start to say, on the approach, just think, have your horse forward going, which could be a forward going trot, it could be a bouncy canter, it could be a ground covering canter, but they're all forward going, so the horse is thinking of going forward. So you need a forward going canter, and in the early stage you should just jump the jump in the middle and at right angles. So those 3 things: think forward going canter, jump the jump in the middle, jump at right angles, okay? So you start to think about grouping things together. You might just say to a beginner rider when they first go, just go jump the middle of the jump. Start here. You might even put some witches' hats up to help them and say jump the middle of the jump and keep going. But as your rider becomes more experienced, and as you become more experienced, you can start to think of multiple things. And generally, if you think of grouping things together in 3, so you might think, okay, the horse is going to go forward in a forward-going pace, whether it's trot or canter, whether it's bouncy canter or ground covering canter, it doesn't really matter so long as it's a forward going canter. But then also start to bring in that you would like to have the horse going, jumping in the middle of the jump and approaching at right angles. So those 3 things you can think of. Then if you think about, even if you group that takeoff, flight and landing, because it comes so close together, you might think about asking the rider to do something through those phases, because it is pretty quick. And even just asking like a single thing, you could say, look up, focus on your line, see where you're going. Or if you have got a more experienced rider, you can start to group it. You can start to say things like wait, meaning that you're not getting in front of the movement when you jump. You're waiting for the fence to come to you, like wait, follow the movement, close your lower leg on. You could even divide it up into 3. You could say during that, that takeoff, the flight and the landing, you could start to say, think of your lower body where you might close your legs around the horse, stretch down with your lower leg, and keep the heels down. Okay, so that might be something that you think with your lower body, but your upper body is follow the movement, look up and allow with your hands. Okay, so those 3 things. And then of course on the landing you might think, closing the leg on, getting the quality of the canter, and making sure you've got the correct bend and flexion from the next corner. So start to think about grouping things together. So you've got the 5 phases of the jump, which is the approach to the jump, the takeoff, the flight path, the landing and the departure, which then turns into your approach to the next jump. Group those 5 phases within 3, which would be your approach, and then your takeoff, your flight and your landing together as one, and then your departure, and then start to put in 3 groups of 3. So you can put in 3 things for your approach, 3 things for your departure, departure, flight, landing, and then 3 things for your, I'm getting a bit mixed up here, but 3 things here when you're approaching the jump, 3 things as the horse is taking off, in flight and landing from the and then 3 things here as the horse is departing. Then you can start to think of 3 things. If you're going to introduce it more for a more experienced rider, once they get better, once you get better as a rider, you can start to say 3 things for your lower body, 3 things for your upper body, and 3 things